Imagine waking up 20,000 years ago. There are no pharmacies, no supermarkets, no bathrooms, no running water, no pads, no tampons, no painkillers. And yet, half the human population still experience something that remains a part of life today: menstruation. Every month, women in prehistoric societies faced the same biological process that women experience now. But without modern products, modern medicine, or modern infrastructure, how did they manage it? Did they simply suffer through it? Did they stop participating in daily life? Did they isolate themselves from the rest of the tribe? Or have we been imagining prehistoric periods completely wrong? The truth is both surprising and deeply revealing, because the story of menstruation is also the story of human adaptation. And understanding how ancient women handled one of life's most universal experiences may completely change the way we think about the past. One of the biggest misconceptions about prehistoric life is the idea that ancient women experienced menstruation exactly as modern women do. At first glance, that seems obvious. After all, human biology has not changed dramatically in just a few thousand years. But anthropologists believe something important was different. Ancient women may have had far fewer periods than women today. That sounds strange. How could the same human body menstruate less often? The answer lies in how prehistoric people lived. Modern women often begin puberty earlier than ancient women likely did. Nutrition plays a major role in reproductive development, and prehistoric diets were very different from modern diets. But the larger factor was pregnancy and breastfeeding. In hunter-gatherer societies, women often spent a significant portion of their adult lives either pregnant or breastfeeding. Extended breastfeeding can naturally suppress ovulation for months or even years. Without ovulation, menstruation usually does not occur. Some researchers estimate that prehistoric women may have experienced only a fraction of the menstrual cycles common in industrialized societies today. A modern woman may experience around 350 to 450 periods during her lifetime. For a prehistoric woman, the number may have been dramatically lower. This doesn't mean menstruation was rare. It means the reproductive pattern of ancient life was fundamentally different. And that changes how we should think about the problem. The question is not simply how prehistoric women managed hundreds of periods. The question is how they managed the periods they did experience without any of the products we rely on today. This is where archaeology becomes both fascinating and frustrating. Unlike stone tools, bones, or pottery, most materials related to menstruation do not survive for thousands of years. Cloth decays, plant fibers decompose, animal hides break down. As a result, archaeologists rarely find direct evidence. Instead, scientists must rely on indirect clues. They compare ancient societies with more recent traditional cultures. They examine available materials. They study how humans adapt to practical challenges. And from those clues, several possibilities emerge. Soft moss may have been used, absorbent grasses, plant fibers, animal skins. Simple cloth materials. Different environments likely produce different solutions. A woman living in a cold northern climate would have access to different resources than a woman living in a tropical forest. There was probably no universal prehistoric method. Instead, there were countless local solutions developed over thousands of generations. The remarkable thing is not that a perfect solution existed. The remarkable thing is that women adapted successfully in almost every environment humans inhabited. If prehistoric women didn't have modern menstrual products, did they simply stop participating in daily life during their periods? The evidence suggests probably not. To understand why, we need to remember something important about hunter-gatherer societies. Every member of the group mattered. Food had to be gathered. Children had to be cared for. Tools had to be maintained. Shelters had to be repaired. Knowledge had to be passed on. Survival was a continuous process. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer groups have observed that daily life is often surprisingly flexible. Tasks are adjusted according to circumstances. An injured hunter may contribute in other ways. An elder may teach rather than travel. A mother caring for an infant may focus on activities closer to camp. Human societies have always been remarkably adaptable. Menstruation was likely treated in much the same way. Some women may have reduced physically demanding activities during difficult periods. Others may have continued their normal routines. The experience would have varied enormously between individuals, just as it does today. Some women experience relatively mild symptoms. Others experience significant discomfort. The important point is that menstruation was not an unusual event. It was a predictable part of life. And predictable challenges are often easier for human societies to adapt to. This brings us to another fascinating question. Were periods actually more painful in prehistoric times? The honest answer is that nobody knows for certain. But scientists have proposed several interesting possibilities. Modern life differs dramatically from prehistoric life in ways that may influence menstrual symptoms. Diet is different. Physical activity is different. Body composition is different. Stress patterns are different. Sleep patterns are different. Many modern populations consume highly processed foods, spend long hours sitting, and experience forms of stress that did not exist in prehistoric environments. Some researchers have suggested that these factors may influence inflammation, hormone regulation, and menstrual symptoms. Others argue that prehistoric women faced their own unique challenges: nutritional shortages, physical hardship, disease, environmental stress. The reality is probably complex. Some aspects of ancient life may have reduced certain symptoms. Other aspects may have made them worse. What we can say is that menstruation has always been part of human biology, and women throughout history found ways to continue living, working, caring for families, and contributing to their communities despite it. But periods were never just a biological event. They were also cultural events. Across the world, human societies developed beliefs, traditions, and rituals surrounding menstruation. Some cultures viewed menstruation as powerful. Others viewed it as sacred. Some considered it dangerous. Others associated it with fertility, renewal, or spiritual transformation. Even today, attitudes toward menstruation vary enormously between cultures. That diversity almost certainly existed in the ancient world as well. Unfortunately, beliefs leave fewer traces than stone tools. A spear can survive for thousands of years. A story usually cannot. A ritual often disappears when the people who practiced it disappear. As a result, much of what prehistoric people believed about menstruation remains unknown. But anthropologists are confident about one thing: periods were important enough to influence culture. Whenever a biological event affects half the population, societies tend to develop explanations for it. Humans are meaning-making creatures. We rarely experience something repeatedly without creating stories around it. At this point, you might wonder how scientists know any of this. After all, no one was taking notes 20,000 years ago. This is where archaeology becomes a detective story. Researchers combine evidence from many different sources: ancient skeletons, environmental records, studies of modern hunter-gatherers, human biology, comparative anthropology, evolutionary theory. Each source provides a small piece of the puzzle. No single piece tells the entire story. But together, they allow scientists to build increasingly accurate models of prehistoric life. This process also reveals something important. Science is not simply about finding answers. It is about understanding uncertainty. When evidence is strong, scientists can be confident. When evidence is limited, they remain cautious. And menstruation is one of those areas where caution matters. Many details remain unknown. Researchers continue debating exactly how prehistoric women managed different aspects of reproductive health. But uncertainty does not mean ignorance. It means the investigation continues. The deeper lesson of this story is not really about periods. It is about adaptation. Humans are incredibly adaptable creatures. For hundreds of thousands of years, our ancestors survived in deserts, in rainforests, in mountains, in frozen landscapes, in environments that seem almost impossible to modern people. And throughout all of that time, women continued experiencing menstruation. Without pharmacies, without disposable products, without modern medicine, without indoor plumbing. Yet life continued. Families continued. Communities continued. Humanity continued. That fact alone deserves recognition, because it reminds us that countless generations of women solved problems that modern technology now solves for us. Their solutions may not have been perfect. They may not have been comfortable, but they worked. And they worked well enough to help carry humanity across thousands of generations. Imagine once again waking up 20,000 years ago. The sun is rising. The camp is beginning to stir. Children are waking. Hunters are preparing for the day. Elders are sharing stories. The world is uncertain. Life is difficult. Resources are limited. And yet, people continue. Among them are women facing the same biological reality that women face today. Not with modern products, not with modern medicine, but with the same resilience that has always defined our species. The story of menstruation is often treated as a modern conversation. In reality, it is one of the oldest human stories of all. It stretches back through every civilization, every migration, every culture, every generation. Long before cities, long before writing, long before history itself. And perhaps that is the most remarkable lesson. Not that ancient women found ways to manage periods, but that they found ways to thrive despite every challenge life placed before them. Because adaptation has always been one of humanity's greatest strengths. And this story is one more reminder of just how extraordinary our ancestors truly were.